Thank you so much for having me today. I'm really honored to be here. And today we're going to be talking about post-election stress trauma, also known as PEST. And it's a real thing. So I'm going to start with a quote. Mark Twain is credited with saying that many of us have such traumatic lives, much of which never happened. Because a lot of times we're actually in our head. And our head is feeding us messages that are not helpful. Think of the negative critic. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. But let's talk about what stress does to the body. So we all know about kind of a globalized stress. When you're stressed, your weight usually changes. Maybe you can't sleep, your digestion. There might be a little bit of hormonal imbalances going on. There might be a little bit of depression. But stress is something that we all live with, and so it's more chronic rather than acute, meaning that it's something that you're living with over time, through periods anyway, versus something that's right now really in your face and you can't escape. And then there's PEST, which is PEST. So I wonder if anybody has a question about what that really is. Terry.
Well, I'm wondering how PEST is different from just the regular normal stress that we have.
So that's a good question, thank you. So with the PEST, the post-election stress trauma, and by the way, this is not a partisan issue. It's actually 79% of Democrats and 52% of Republicans are concerned about the way that the nation is being run. And more is being revealed every day. So with an acute pest, what you're living with is a deeper level of stress that is invading your thoughts, that is has you not in the mood for love, that has you very edgy, and there's so much permissibility for the bullying or the put downs or the racial divides, that all that's coming forward and it's really triggering you. The people that have the greatest triggers to this situation are usually people that in the past have had their own traumas. So an example of that is a couple that I've worked with, one, either the man or the woman, for years, off and on with different things that I've offered. All of a sudden, this election happens and all this information is being unearthed. And the wife says, I can't deal with this marriage anymore, I really want out. Now I happen to know her husband, who's a really good guy. And there's dynamics. They've been together 34 years. So when he would get upset, and it wasn't even necessarily at her, he would slam a cupboard, or he would kind of, have to let off some steam. But he wasn't really abusive. What was happening for her is that the past, growing up with her brother and her father, who were putting her down, who were discounting her, who were bullying her, all of that was coming forward in the brain. And she couldn't differentiate the fact that here is now and there is then, because it was all superimposed. So all of a sudden it all became just intolerable. So to his credit, he actually is going to a group called Men Evolving Nonviolently. He's gotten to working with me. I'm working with the both of them. It's all turned around. It's really good. But she didn't know that it wasn't all here and now. And that's really common for us. That really happens. So that's one of the things that can happen with PEST, is that the traumas are really much bigger than what they were originally. Stanford, Columbia University, there's a lot of places studying this, and they're seeing it's a real phenomenon. So then we get to the runaway brain. So that brain can be bringing up, the thoughts from before, the memories from before. Everybody's pretty familiar with the inner critic, right? The inner critic is telling you that you aren't going to succeed. Don't you know you're not smart enough? You can't trust that person. And that may not be real either. So we have to learn how to control that. Yes, question.
So my brain is always running, and I've got what if, what if, what if, what if. How do I stop that?
So that's a good question. I lead a number of different brain exercises to be able to calm down the limbic system, which is their mood and memory, to connect right and left hemispheres so you're more whole-brained, and also the sympathetic nervous system, which is sending cortisol and adrenaline, and it's really got you going. So all those what ifs are also, so triggering that you've got that in your system. That's hard. So how do you shut it down? I'm going to show you in a very simple 30-second way just one of the steps of the 4 that I use in this particular exercise. So what I want you to do is just go ahead and put one hand just above your belly button, about an inch above. It doesn't matter which one, you just have your palm there. And I'm going to have you take the other hand and just find your collarbone right underneath there. You're going to keep your tongue to the roof of your mouth, at least at one point. It doesn't have to be plastered there. And I'm going to allow you to have your feet flat. So go ahead and close your eyes and take a conscious breath in and out. You can even wiggle your toes if you want, because you have acupressure points on your toes that connect to the brain. Consciously breathing in and out. Go ahead and set aside whatever came before this breath, and the next, and the next. So let's take a deep breath in and out and come back to the room. And you can just feel in 30 seconds how the energy started to just calm, right? With the brain gym that I've taught for 27 years, there's 4 different movements that I use. It's called PACE, Positive Action, Clarity, and Energy. And if you go to YouTube, you can put my name, Marjorie, and a plus sign, and then PACE, and you can do it right along with me. It's cumulative in the brain, and it's super helpful. Okay, so there's an actual systematic system that I have developed for working with the PEST. And the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to stop and you're going to notice your thoughts. There are even apps that help you do that. You can look at the Happiness Project, and it just randomly throughout the day, it beeps and it says, where are you? Are you here in the here and now? Are you in the past that you can't do anything about? Are you in the future where you have no power yet? The power is in the now. You also have to identify the feelings, what's going on with you. And those are bodily and also emotional. So here's a hint. Your emotions, if we don't take care of them and address them, they will play out through the body. So then you have more physical pain. So it's a good idea to address the emotions. Not that physical pain isn't real, but it can be amped up incredibly. You have to trace the historical root, like that couple I was talking about. That wife did not know what was going on. So where is this anxiety coming from? Is it really all belonging to this situation? And then you have to address it to create new neural pathways in the brain to allow yourself to let it go. One of the ways we do that is through EFT, and it doesn't stand for electronic funds transfer, although it is about energy. Okay, so it stands for the Emotional Freedom Technique, and it's known as tapping. Now, some people are kind of seen it on the internet and may have tried it along, and they say, that stuff doesn't really work. That's why you work with a practitioner like me. I've had over 150 hours of training on it, and it's very helpful. In fact, the American Veterans Association in 2014 came out and said that EFT is the most effective non-medical modality for PTSD and returning vets. It's deceptively simple and really, really profoundly relieving. So it's creating new neural pathways in your brain for a go-around thought. So you don't have to stay stuck with that. Are there any more questions? Let's see. Yes?
You know, I just can't I can't stop watching TV, the news. I have to watch it, but it's driving me crazy. What do you suggest?
Well, if you start thinking about this and you're deeply affected by this post-election stress trauma, it's almost like a wound. And the more you feed it, the more it festers. So if you had a broken leg, you wouldn't be walking around on it, right? So what you have to do is focus on the good. Stay away from all the news. This doesn't mean that you have to shut it off completely. In fact, I think that may be a tactic by bombarding us so much that we just say enough and we're not going to know about it. It's good to stay informed, but choose your sources, choose your frequency of how often you look at it. Don't let yourself drive it nuts, because the thing is, I'll get some people who say, no, I have to stay on top of it. I cannot let them get away with anything. And my question is to them, who wins in that? It's taking you away from your life. It's taking your focus out of your business. It's making internal turmoil. You're not sleeping at night. Who wins in that? Much better to actually go through some brain exercises and some coaching, get your support, and then look at who are the people that you want to bond with? Who are the people that are making the change in the world that you want to get on that wagon? There's lots of opportunities for that. But the first thing is self-care. You got to take care of yourself first, or you won't be effective in making that. So that's a real key. So there are ways that you can get support with this. In fact, I lead a 3-month series, which is online, that helps you come back to center, power up for change, and really move forward and make a difference in the world. And whether that's a difference in being able to focus and organize your business and start a task and follow through, which some of us are not doing because we're so emotionally charged, or whether that is just realizing that our thoughts create reality. What you think, you bring about. I'm a firm believer in that. So if you're thinking about the chaos all the time, what are you creating? Chaos, right? If you're thinking about, I'm working for change because I want to bring peace about, and you're focusing on peace, that's what you have. In fact, Mother Teresa would never go to an anti-war protest. She said, when you have a peace demonstration, invite me. Because she followed those tenets. That worked for her. So in this 3-month program, you're learning exercises to be focused here and now, right where your feet are. If you can't feel your feet, that's a clue that you're probably not right here and now. You're also learning how to make conscious commitments. What are you going to do with your time? How are you going to follow through? You're getting the support to stop the inner critic and the runaway brain. And you're learning how to gather up that courage, to really focus on the self-care, to come into your power and move forward. So how does that sound? Sounds good? And it's easy because it comes right to you. It's right on the internet. What you get to do with that is you're able to have one group a month where we have a group webinar. You're hearing from other people. We're taking real life situations and how do we solve that? You're also having one group a month, or one 90-minute session a month with me, one-on-one, so that we can customize it to you. And that's one of the reasons that tapping on somebody on the internet doesn't work so well, because it's not your issue. We get to go deep with that in 90 minutes, and you get 3 of those in this program. There's a workbook that goes along with it, and I have lots of handouts. I am basically a teacher at heart. I want people to really know what they learn and be able to come back to it so that you can access it at any time. And you get a community of support. So we'll have a dedicated Facebook page, and that way you can find out what's working for other people. and what other opportunities are out there that are available for change. So if you're interested in that, please let me know. I have gone out and done a number of speaking gigs. I've actually really liked working with groups and speaking to audiences like yourself. I've been an independent provider for the state of California, Department of Rehab. I've also worked for California Human Development and Kaiser Permanente, teaching these brain techniques. How do you relieve trauma? How do you come back to yourself? How do you move forward? These are the living skills and the blueprint that we never got. And I'd love to share that with you. Thank you. Okay.